Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Shadow and Sun Show, and welcome back for kind of a very special game review. I've been wanting to do this one for a long time, and it's all on me. I've been procrastinating and doing some other stuff behind the scenes, but I've been hearing a little bit more about this one, and then I saw Miguel and Silvia's video. Don't review our games, and I'm like, crap, failed my save on the old reverse psychology. So I picked up their free copy on their website. I'll try to put a link in there, but if you go to their YouTube channel, the Red Room, you can find all the info. And man, it's a beast. 450 plus pages. But it's in digest form, so it was pretty easy to digest for me, at least. Pardon the pun. It was totally intended, though. And I enjoyed the heck out of it. Now, don't get me wrong. There are some things about it that aren't my cup of tea, but maybe for you folks out there, there'll be things you can, just hand wave away, and, it's not going to bother you. But I also have another one of their books in the works, and a friend of mine, OGGM, is highly recommended stuff because he helped work on it, I guess. So I'm looking forward to that, but of course that's not the one that I'll be reviewing tomorrow. So let's get into it. Right off the bat, like I said, it's a big old 450 plus pages, and right off the bat, it's got just about everything you're ever going to need to run a role-playing game. Unlike some of the other, omnibus type, this is all you ever need kind of core rule books. It may be all you need, but it's definitely not going to be all you want. I can guarantee you that. I picked up one of them in soft cover, hoping that it would be all I needed, but clearly I didn't read the fine print. You are going to need the core rule book, but we'll get into that tomorrow because I'm just about done with it. But right off the bat, character creation. It starts off with your basic 6+1 stat, kind of like the old D&D stats, except they added sexuality or sex appeal as comeliness, because that's the way they roll with all things in life. If you've never checked out any of their videos, go check them out. I've always enjoyed their shenanigans. They make the perfect couple and team of role players. So kudos to them. One of the things I liked, in addition to the 7 stats, which we're also familiar with, if you want to rename the stats, that's fine. But you basically run down the 3 or 4d6 either down the line, or if you're playing on easy mode, you put them where you want, which I find at the very least it lets you try to run the character you want to, as opposed to I don't know what I'm going to run, but I guess I'll just roll with it. And again, pardon that pun, that wasn't intended. I'm not a fan of that. If I'm in the mood to play a fighter, I don't want to run a character that's more, stat-wise, it's more inclined to be a thief or a magic user because of randomness. Moving your stats around, it just allows you to, play whatever you're in the mood for. And in that section, well, actually, I think it's a little bit later, is instead of alignment, they go with, and mind you, they do offer up the option of using standard alignments with sins and or virtues. I really like that idea. I've always had this gut feeling of my own that using the sins and virtues as a way to describe your characters. I've always used them for creating villains, trying to embody one or more of those sins. I even did it when I was creating the gods for my current campaign. I went down the list, and this god or demigod or demon or angel or whatever, personifies this particular, sin or virtue. The health and hit points, I like the fact that it's for these kinds of games that it's not just a chunk, just crap tons after crap tons of hit points as you go up in levels. Mind you, there's only 10 levels, so it does keep everything very down to earth, which I think is what they're shooting for, is more down to earth games. I'd love to talk to the two of them about their game and the thought processes and where they were, trying to, guide their games and their particular system. You get basically your Constitution score plus 2 points or 1 point, depending on your character class or type. We'll get into that in a minute. Per level. So say you've got a 9 and you get 2 per level. At 10th level, you're barely looking at 30-ish hit points. You can get the con bonus per level depending on the style of play you're looking at, which I think most people are going to want that, just because they would like the idea that their character can take a bullet and keep on fighting, which is not very realistic, but that's what we've all come to expect from role-playing games, even if they are, a little schlocky and a little over the top. Personally, I like as over the top as you can get, but I get it, having been shot, having been stabbed and struck by lightning. After the first try, or the first hit, I don't want to do anything else but start healing as soon as possible, because it's painful and it's debilitating, and it's not for everybody. Once you're down to your last hit point, you pretty much know it, and it's the most precious thing you can think of at that moment. There's species and race choices. Nice. There's some interesting new races, and they work well as both characters and adversaries later on down the road. The occupation and archetype, which I really love that idea. Occupation is like one of your 4 food groups, fighter, cleric, magic user, thief, and then the archetype are basically your subclasses, and there are a whole bunch of them to make just about anybody very happy. Using stuff for whatever genre you want, you're pretty covered when it comes to what kind of character you want to run. Then there's a skill system, which a lot of people, I like race or class versus skills. I like the idea of both. Classes make it easier to focus your character on what you are. Okay, this is what your character is and is going to be, and that coupled with the origin and life path, backstory rolls. You get a couple of rolls on each chart. For your origin, I think you get 1. And then on your life path, you get a couple that, show what you've done to get to where you are. And all combined make for a quick but solid character. You could, if you were to hand an index card with these things on it to someone saying, this is what you're playing, it makes it very easy to get into the headspace of any character you make, which, like I said, is a pretty quick and painless process. The experience point system, being that you get a lot of experience points for being a bad guy or a badass, and mind you, they do offer the options of playing more traditional style characters in games where you're supposed to be the good guys, but for the most part they tend to walk heavily in the wild side of character role playing, and that can be fun. But me personally, I always try to run the good guys. But when I play a bad guy, trust me, I'm the bad guy. Whether I'm as a player or a DM. Asked my folks last Sunday. They almost lost their asses on that one, and I think they're a little too generous in the way they hand out experience points for being a wretched bastard. But maybe as time goes on, it gets a little more difficult. But it didn't really seem like it would be too hard to, in a year's time, max out a character to 10th level, and I don't like that idea. I like the idea of being able to keep going on, but I don't like the idea of rapid character growth in levels that way. In the beginning, I get it. You kind of should get a little bit of make a little bit of progress. Going up first, second, third level, and then sort of level out and it, hit that sort of plateau where it's going to be really hard. So buckle up. You're going to be here for a while. But I do like the way and the things you get experience points for. And since most experience points are like 1s and 2s and 3s, it does sort of make the math easier. But like I said, in the long run, I think you're going to level up and max out in the course of a year. Maybe that's the goal. Miguel, Silvia, let me know what you were thinking in that. Damage and healing, very generous. You get more than, or more than just the one a night, like we're all familiar with. I think it's a D6, or depending on the circumstances, whether you're, at home healing or in a hospital, that sort of thing. So it's generous, but at the same time, that's not a bad thing, because when you're playing a character in the middle of some nasty situation, getting hit points back without having to rely on heal spells or doctors or potions makes it easier for the GM to keep throwing stuff at you without having to go, okay, well, they're going to be hiding for the next week or two until they get all their hit points back. Keeps the game moving, so that's a bonus. Now, there was a chapter in here about domain play, which I found very, very helpful for getting players, once they, are reaching those upper tiers, to start doing things besides just trying to, either go into the dungeon or break into somebody's apartment or, bank heists and things like that, to really start thinking big. And I really am a big fan of any kind of domain play. Mind you, that if it's put in its proper place and at the right time, trying to start out or something like that in that sort of sense may not be what the group is up for. But once you get to that point, they really did a good job on that. And included in that is something called carousing, which is things you can do and roles you can make for your downtime when your characters are, in between adventures or things like that. Or just doing, day-to-day life sort of things. There's some good charts, some nice rolling to see what happened, random events, that sort of thing, which is a lot of fun. It makes it really easy for the GM to just say, okay, in between the last two sessions, this is what happened to each player by rolling on a chart, and then playing it out a little bit, or narrating exactly what those things were and how it affected you, but how we're not going to make a whole session out of it. Computer hacking, they did a nice job on that, because there's that element is provided for if you want to run a cyberpunk sort of game. It's in there. You could literally play just about any game you want using their book, but having a complete chapter on hacking is like, here's a free supplement built into the game if you want to go that route, which can doesn't have to be purely cyberpunk. It could be sci-fi or even modern day. Hackers exist right here and now, so if you're playing a modern contemporary game, you're set. Excuse me, get a drink of water. The next section was adversaries, which is your bad guys, your monsters, things like that. Which it was based around a very complete, solid, build your own monster set of rules, which goes all the way back to the original Dungeon Master's Guide. There were rules in there. You want to make a monster? So let's go through the basics, and pick and choose or randomly roll and get it all done. And here's everything you need to make your brand new baby pet monster, if you will, solid. Also, of course, fear and sanity rules if you want to play a Call of Cthulhu-esque game, or any game where fear and horror and those sorts of encounters and situations are going to be prevalent. It's all covered. It's all good to go. Again, pretty solid and simple system. Then come to a couple of the last things that no game would be complete without, that being magic and psionics. Magic is very, very realistic, as in what people believe and practice in the real world here on Earth, and apparently they've done their research. I'm wondering if you two are witches. Just saying. But seriously, while it does offer some very highly powerful options, it's still what I would call a low-powered magic system. You're not blasting off dozens of spells a day. Most of them are in the form of rituals, unless you are of a specific type of character that gets the ability to cast them a little bit quicker. At best, you're looking at a 10-minute casting time, which, means you for the most part need to do this spell or this ritual somewhere off, in seclusion to get it to work, and then go through the game with its effect, hanging around you, whether it's your new pet demon or some sort of aura around yourself. Not my brand of, gonzo kind of magic. If I'm going to go magic, I want the full Doctor Strange blasting spells that, the Dread Doramu, back and forth, not that sort of, Lord of the Rings movie where Saruman and Gandalf are up on the tower and you can't tell what's going on. They're just pushing at each other like Cartman and the psychics in South Park. I want lightning bolts going back and forth, magic missiles and fireballs and shields coming up, and I want that really gonzo visualistic sort of magic. But if you want to play a X-Files, Supernatural, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, that sort of magic kind of situation, you're great. You're golden. It's got it all simplified, and it's not so jam-packed with magic. I'm sure other supplements and other books have a lot more, and maybe there's even a magical system where there's more of that. Although I did find in the psionics section there were some of the things like lightning bolt and things like that were a little bit more free-flowing. Still a limit on how many spells or psionic abilities you can cast a day, ranging in the 5 to 6 category, 5 or 6 of them a day, which, if you're only having one big encounter, okay, you're not going to have a problem. But in more traditional games, I find where there's encounter after encounter of bad guys, and the poor magic user, he needs to be able to blast off half a dozen spells per encounter maybe, because you can't pull out a 45 and just blast them, which would be fun and should be an option. But the psionics, I liked it a little bit more. It covered all of the basics, including things like teleport, which is my favorite superpower of all time. So if you can psionically teleport, okay, I'm going to seriously think about that as one of the things I'm going to be shooting for. But like I said, for the most part, the game seems very Supernatural, X-Files-ish. A couple of things I did not like about it, and this is me personally. I know a lot of people love these kinds of rules. Ammo rules. I'll let you know as a player when I'm out of ammo. I'm not going to be fond of a game that has the dice tell me I run out of bullets. I know how many magazines I brought with me. I know how many bullets are in each magazine. I know how many rounds I fired. Obviously being a gun nut, I know how much each and every one of my bullets costs and where I left them, if you know what I mean. And so I'm not a big fan of Well, roll to see if you run out of bullets. Sorry, I'm not going to run out of bullets. And if I'm close to running out of bullets, I'm close to running out of the scenario to go get more bullets. Just that simple. There's a very similar mechanic with wealth. I'll let you know when I run out of money. I want to know how much each and every item costs and where I spend my money. I can tell you right now how much money is in each and every one of my bank accounts, my wallet, and all the hidey holes where I put my cash. So maybe not down to the jars of pennies and quarters, nickels, and dimes that I have, but I do know how much money I have, where I spent it. I check my accounts regularly, and my characters would do the same thing. It's like, I've got 80 gold pieces. Food is this much at the tavern. Well, I guess I'm skipping a meal just because I don't want, to spend the money. And I've done that, and my fellow players are like, why? Because I'm saving up for this, or I'm saving up for that, or I know I'm going to have to, pay for this later. So I call it spreadsheet gaming, whatever you want, but I like to know when and where I spend my money. And most of you guys who know me have heard these rants before. I'll let you know when I'm out of bullets and out of money, and I'll make sure to keep engaged in the story to make sure that I don't run out of those things. I would like to see more high-powered options for this game, so I'm going to be looking into the Wretched Vigilantes, I think it's called, to see how and where they go in the way of, very high-powered characters, whether they be, high-powered wizards in a D&D style game, or super strong, super powered individuals like champions or villains and vigilantes, or even Heroes Unlimited, which allowed for some high powers, but it's still, all the games I come across top out saying, oh, that's too powerful, and I've never let that concept come into any of my games. There is no such thing as too powerful. I've never told a player you're too powerful, or your character is too powerful. I can't come up with an adventure idea for you. To the contrary, the more powerful a character gets, the more engaged I'm getting, and the more complex plots and schemes I'm planning for the characters to be embroiled in. But otherwise, last thing, the art. I know a lot of people are not fans of AI art. I'd really like to talk to you guys about the art that you use, because there are some times I'm like, that looks just like so-and-so. Pick your favorite artist or musician. I'm pretty sure I know who that's supposed to be, kind of situation. And some of the art, obviously, hand-drawn by somebody, very interesting. Obviously my son is not going to be a fan of some of your art choices, but, he doesn't like Venger either when it comes to art. But I really liked the way you guys picked and chose the art that you did. In a lot of cases, it's perfect. Some of the choices were confusing, not because they were bad, but just like, who is this, and what who are they supposed to represent? Because it didn't kind of fit in, and I'm talking mostly about the next book that I'm going to review tomorrow. But all in all, I was really there's not a single piece of art that's like low quality, despite what some folks out there who hate AI art or using art that's out there that's free usage sort of thing. I never found a case where I was like, this is out of place, or this isn't that good. Even some of the more comical images, I'm like, that fits, and I've seen the same style elsewhere, or I've definitely seen worse in countless game books over the years. So the art is pretty damn good, and for those of you who aren't fans of getting help with art and not wanting to shell out a lot of money, you're barking up the wrong tree with that argument. This book is a perfect example of what you can do with it if you I guess, do the work that needs to be done because you don't have the talent to draw, but you have the other talent to describe or what have you. You guys did a great job on the art. But all in all, I'm giving this an 8 out of 10, mostly because I want to see more, but there were a few things throughout my usual list of grading a game, and definitely 8 plus. But like I said, with the ammo rules and the money rules, if I were to run the game, I would just take those out, which I'm sure is the point. If there's any rule or anything you don't like, you can take out or add to it. Another thing I didn't like was the critical hits. I don't like critical hits. If you're using hit points, you should use either just hit points and it does this damage and that's it, because that's the mechanic. When you throw in crits, you just basically make it boil down to an inevitable when you're going to crit or fumble yourself to death, and nobody wants to go out that way, and the bad guys shouldn't have the option of that, neither should you. It's just dumb, and I've seen it drive players away from games. A fumble or a crit that takes you out, they don't come back, and I'd rather them just lose the hit points and you're at 0, you're dead, make up a new character, as opposed to I'm at full hit points and one lucky shot takes me out, and that lucky shot was my fumble taking me out. I just don't like it. So I don't use them. But that being said, I am working on a game, or working with a game company that uses them heavily, but they've got rules, as has always been intended, to mitigate that, or to at least make it easier to survive, as opposed to it's just a one shot, you're dead. Thanks for playing, especially if you've been playing a character for years and years and years, only to go out like Dean Winchester at the end of Supernatural. That was just dumb. He deserved a better death than that, and so do my players. With that being said, I'm going to say goodbye to all of you. I've got some other stuff I've got to take care of, but definitely give this one a look-see if you liked anything you heard so far. I would love to talk to Miguel and Silvia about this. You guys are welcome on the show anytime you want to talk about your game or plug anything. I liked it enough to where I will be picking up at least 2 other copies of their game system just to see how they do things. And there are some great ideas that I picked up while reading at least this book so far that I'm going to be implementing in my own games. And I'm sure you guys will be able to find more than a handful of things that you would take away for your own games as well. All in all, very nicely done, folks. Hope to see and hear from you guys again, and everybody else out there in TV land. Thanks for playing along. I know this was a longer review, but this was a really big, like I said, 450 plus page book, and it deserved my full attention and my full breakdown. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. I will see you guys tomorrow with a review of Wretched Country, because it's April. April is Country and Western month here at Casa de Shadows. So stay tuned. I will see you guys tomorrow, and until then, happy trails.